Just to recap, so AI dominates the agenda. Skills, future priorities, investments, focus, and tooling. It was in tooling as well. So it's kind of throughout the report in multiple areas. And the challenges that we need to overcome to kind of help manage that. FinOps has expanded across technology, continued growth in all areas. Teams are asked to take on more, find more optimization opportunities that might have a higher impact than what they can do on cloud. Optimization is that the table stakes. It's just something teams do. Mature practices are prioritizing other areas and focusing on value.
Using the term technology versus just cloud, it's so much more than just cloud, right? And you absolutely are wearing many, many, many hats. It's, FinOps is, finance, it's engineering, it's a little bit of everything. It's a lot of responsibility, but I kind of thrive on it. I think this is an opportunity for you to really expand your skill set. And I would like embrace it and, pedal down on the accelerator. I wouldn't fear it. I think it brings a lot of opportunity across a lot of technology.
We started to adopt focus, just not to have all the data together, but to enrich the data that we found just going beyond tags and more working on that, let's say also to handling back this data back to different teams, because we are not just keeping this data inside the FinOps data lake. We always work next to our C-levels because we need to speak in the same business language. The real enabler on the discussion when we discuss with them, it makes things really easier.
I would say anytime you do something well, your leadership team is going to come to you and look for you to do more. I have been doing cloud for so long, and it's like, hey, we have a SaaS problem. We want you to take the efficiencies and take the analytical eye that you've applied to cloud and now apply that to SaaS. And that was last year. This year, getting even more responsibility. We have strategic partnerships with technology companies. Let's take the rigor that you have on cloud and SaaS and now introduce that into other parts of the business. And I expect this is a pattern that's going to continue. As you stabilize one part of your business, you're going to look for opportunities to stabilize the next one and continue to roll that out.
Our mission is to help all of you advance your careers. Welcome home.
FinOps is a space to connect, to learn, to share. It's an opportunity to be with those who get you, with those who do the work you do every day.
And we hear a lot of people talking about AI almost as a dedicated segment, or one might say scope. Who went to a party last night? All right, who went to all the parties last night?
I have really been enjoying all the sessions about expanding FinOps scopes into other areas and really just extending FinOps reach.
Even people that you never met before, they'll come up to you and discuss anything and everything about FinOps.
So let's talk about AI.
Let's talk about AI.
Hey, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Yeah, please do drop in the chat with a hello from where you are. My name is J.R. Storment, Executive Director at the FinOps Foundation. And in a bit, at the end of this, we're going to give you a chance to interact. So we'll come back to this slide with all the ground rules. But for now, drop into the chat. No sales pitches, please. Share your knowledge and learnings. Be inclusive and respectful of others. This is, I was going to say the biggest summit of the year, but it's one of the biggest, I would say. And it is the first of 2026, our State of FinOps Summit, where we announce all the results from the survey that ran through the end of 2025 into January of this year. In the next 60 minutes, we are going to cover a lot. We're going to talk about the new FinOps for AI certification. We're going to share some of the speaker lineup for FinOps X, the main content, of course, the State of FinOps, some updates on focus, a panel discussion from fantastic practitioner panelists around the world. And we are going to reveal, at long last, an updated mission statement for the foundation that I'm going to come back to later at the end of the State of FinOps session. Thank you to all of the FinOps Foundation's premier members. We are part of the Linux Foundation. My staff and I all work for the Linux Foundation. We're a membership-based organization, so these members help us put on the events, the trainings, things like this, and make sure that we can fund the activities that we are doing. So thank you to all of those premier members and the additional 180 general members out there. Thank you as well to our governing board. Our governing board is made up of almost 50 people now around the world. It is a mix of practitioners doing FinOps. We've got platform leaders, we've got consulting leaders, we've got cloud leaders, we've got data center leaders, there's software leaders. It's a great mix of people who represent all the personas in the FinOps ecosystem, and they help us figure out our strategy each year in our annual meetings and what we're going to do. And as part of this, each time we do a summit, we do a welcome to new governing board members. So we wanted to take a couple minutes and introduce a couple new governing board members. One is we're starting with, which will be Aran, Khanna, for the CEO of Archera. They've actually been members for a bit, but he's just stepping into the governing board seat, and this is his first appearance in that seat. So welcome, Aran.
Thank you so much, JR. And it's great to be finally joining the governing board here after a long time being engaged with the FinOps Foundation, even from those early days at the Austin Summit. Archera is, if you don't know, the first and only cloud commitment insurance provider. So really where, there's a lot of vendors that focus on the ops side of FinOps. We're one of the few, if not the only one, that focuses on the fin side, working with reinsurance and the financial markets to actually help you provide more flexibility on your reserved instances, savings plans, CUDs, MACs, PPAs, all the crazy commitment primitives, PTUs now in AI. We can go and really underwrite that. So you can commit and commit to the right level without the fear of overcommitment and bearing that financial cost. So really excited to be a part of the foundation here. And contribute both on the open source side. We have a completely free platform around commitment management that we provide access to, and we're working to actually provide more and more open source tools to the community through that. And we have a really unique financial side of our business as well. So excited to be part of the foundation.
Awesome. Great to have you here. And that was some serious OG FinOps cred mentioning Austin. That was 2022, the first in-person event we had. Next up, also with some early FinOps cred, Hassan from Infracost.
Hey folks, Hassan, one of the founders of Infracost. I've been in the cloud cost management space for about 15 years now. One of my first startups was one of the first cloud cost management companies out there. It was acquired by Flexera. So if you're using the Flexera FinOps tool, ultimately, that's thanks for using one of my software as well. So quick, Infracost focuses on shifting FinOps left. That's our full focus, right? Which is like, help the engineer see the cost of the code changes before they merge and how they can optimize it, and then measure that and show the ROI of what the shift left is used like and what it is. I grew up in Scotland. I am now based in Orange County. And final fun bit is Infracost is now used by over 4,000 companies, including 10% of the Fortune 500, which is awesome. So that's a quick intro to me.
Thank you, Hassan. And Hassan lives in SoCal like I do and hosts some great social FinOps things down here. We're doing one next Friday for anybody in SoCal. So thanks for contributing in that way as well. And also want to welcome to the board Sabapathy from Corestack. Saba.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. I'm Saba, co-founder and CTO of Corestack, an AI-native cloud governance platform unifying governance, FinOps, and security together. We govern more than 5 billion in cloud spend, started in 2016. We are one of the category creator for governance, early promoter of governance, have driven more than 1 billion in optimization for various enterprises. There are more than 500 organizations use Corestack and which helped advance the FinOps maturity. I'm based out of Seattle. It's an honor to be part of FinOps governing body. I'm hoping to bring my decade of FinOps and governance experience to the governing body to help maximize the cloud business value for enterprises. Thank you.
Welcome, Saba. excited to have you join the governing board. Thank you to all these folks, and look forward to seeing you in more activities and get involved with all the areas in the foundation. A couple other upcoming things. Dean Oliver, who leads our UK community, is hosting this event in London. It's really just a few weeks away. It's the end of March. Some great speakers, great full day content. This is a full day event. It's a mini FinOps X day that's happening there, around 400 people. Definitely consider coming if you're there or in Europe. This is nearly full, so sign up soon. We don't have it listed here, but we also later in the year have a similar event in Amsterdam, similar full day, all day event for those of you into that last year. Details coming shortly. That'll be in September. And of course, we are 111 days. I'm bad at the math, but I think that's roughly right. To FinOps X here in San Diego. This is the conference that is the home for technology value and all the ways that all of you do that. So please consider coming to join us there. A lot of you asked if we get the early bird pricing back because many of you missed the calendar invite or reminders. So we have a temporary secret rollback. It's secret because we're only putting it on this summit. So if you haven't gotten a ticket and you want to go back to early bird pricing, this code here that I'm sure someone will post in the chat will let you grab that early bird pricing for the next 48 hours. A lot of folks also not realizing that the ticket comes with a half off the FinOps or AI if you want to grab that too. So that's available. And the last thing I'll say before we talk about State of FinOps, we just announced the first major tranche of speakers for the conference. This shows a fantastic mix of big companies, medium, small companies, engineers, finance people, FinOps people. There's some ITAM and ITFM thrown in there. There's vendors, practitioners, clouds, a big mix of people. So more of these are coming. We should have all the speakers finalized by next week, but please give a shout out to these folks and come see them live in San Diego to support them. With that, I want to pass to my dear friend and our COO, Steve Trask. Before Steve starts, Steve has been working on Foundation from the very beginning, and every single State of FinOps we've ever done, he and his team have delivered a huge amount of things. You're going to see a bunch of stuff just landing. Oh, look, in the chat, you're about to see the new website coming out. So thank you to Steve for all the work these last few weeks and the team that's been working diligently on that. And excited to see you share this data with the group. Over to you, Steve.
Thank you, JR. Hi, everyone. It's great to be back here sharing the findings from all the data with you all. But first of all, I do want to say thank you. Really thank you for those who took part. This could not or would not happen without your contributions to the community, allowing us to share these findings today. It's critical. We really appreciate it. So let's dive in. This is the 6th annual State of FinOps survey. Proud to been involved in all of them. This year, we have some segments, which is showing in the slides and on the website, about organizations sized by employees. So large enterprises who are 10,000 plus employees, enterprises 1 to 10,000 employees, and SMBs are small, medium businesses for organizations of less than 1,000 employees. Popular industries that took part: finance, technology, communications, retail, and a slight uptick in healthcare. Regional coverage is slightly different to last year. Increase in respondents from Europe and Asia. Respondents represented 83 billion in annual cloud spend. I would say and more, because not everyone can share this information, and it doesn't include the wider tech spend, the SaaS, the data center that everyone looks after as well. New to this year's report, we also conducted interviews with parts of the community about practitioners, but also integrated viewpoints from executives we've been interviewing as well. So keep an eye out for those on the website and on the slides. Okay, so looking at the reporting and team structure, the vast majority are reporting into the CIO and CTO, aligning with previous data. We combine these together as our insight shows that these roles are really interlinked, one often reporting into the other, slightly different structure depending on the organization type, size, or structure. This CTO CIO segment has increased actually. So we last did the data in 2023. It's increased 18 percentage points, showing that continued consolidation around that reporting line, while the CFO actually declined around 6% percentage points down from those reporting that way. Team structure has aligned around enabling centrally, with another version being hub and spoke model. Totaling those both together is 81%. Those using hub and spoke structure are mainly from those large enterprises at 10,000 plus employees. And there's also 10% doing FinOps activities while not having a defined team. And that's okay. And those are typically aligned with the lower technology spend levels. And this aligns with exactly the data that we previously had. So team size, this is a really hard one. We have not gathered the data for a few years around this, and it shows teams are running slightly leaner than previous. Those managing 15 to 100 million in annual public cloud spend have an average of 3 practitioners and 1 contractor or service provider. But this data is really hard to pin down, especially at the higher levels of spend. There's a lot of supporting roles. That's why we've added more of an average range here at the top bracket. It really does depend on your individual organization. For example, if you've got part-time support across the team, if you've got technology areas you need to, additional technology areas you need to cover, skills you need to cover, or you have an existing partnership with a service provider you want to take advantage of. So it really does be flexible and varies at those different sizes. So when we asked about what skills are you looking to add in the next 12 months, AI cost management was the clear top desired skill, followed by tooling, engineering, automation, capacity planning or forecasting. It's interesting to note these are kind of more technical skills and several engineering based. No matter the team size, all have the AI cost management as their most required skill in the next 12 months. However, there is a notable difference between the higher spend brackets correlates to more requirement for engineering automation development skills. So this is the current priorities. What are folks working on now? Optimization is top, the same as last year, and it's likely to remain the focus for practitioners, especially for those managing additional technology categories, which in itself is there at number 2. It rises 6 places compared to the second last year. From interviews, we heard increasingly optimization efforts are based on funding AI initiatives. Wanting to make more investments in there, we have to make savings elsewhere. Interestingly, those who are not prioritizing optimization, oh, can we go back a slide? Sorry. Those who are not prioritizing optimization for workloads outnumbered those who actually selected it as a priority. Their responses are just more dispersed across the other options. However, that cohort are prioritizing applying FinOps to more areas of spend, FinOps for AI, and governance at scale. It's worth noting reporting on cloud carbon and staffing still persists at the lowest priorities. Actually, cloud carbon reporting actually, as a priority, decreased 4 percentage points year on year, even though, if you think about it, I mentioned the increase in European respondents. It's not saying it's not being done, it's being done, it's just not currently being prioritized against these other areas. So if we go ahead, this quote is actually from one of the interviews showing the rising trend we're finding amongst more mature practices, demonstrating optimization opportunities on public cloud are smaller and potentially more time consuming, leading to more of that desire of automation, those skills that the people wanted to be added at the higher cloud spends. This also aligns with managing those additional technology areas where opportunities may have bigger impact. Again, this is all about how mature your practice is, and it's kind of like the less mature practices still have a lot of work to do in this area. That shows by the priorities, but we're seeing people moving on and kind of looking at other areas to prioritize. Okay, so these are the future priorities. What are folks planning to work on kind of now for the next 12 months? The biggest increase is FinOps for AI, taking the top spot, moving up 6 places with 13% additional points. Also, AI for FinOps moves up significantly, which may be related to staffing and acquiring talent that drops to last. Applying FinOps to additional technology areas remains at number 2, showing actually it's very persistent, current and future. So it's staying there in the top 2. Also, defining unit economics jumps 5 places. We do see a connection between FinOps for AI, for those selecting that as a priority, and selecting unit economics within the data. And that comes up in various other points as well. Okay, so if we dig into those areas of additional technology spend being managed today and in the next 12 months as the second priority, remember in the current and the future priorities, which is telling, planned increases in SaaS have materialized and they continue on the same trend, rising to 90%. Other areas have also seen increases, demonstrating why it's such a high priority for respondents in both areas, future and current. It's also worth highlighting that nearly half are managing or planning to manage data center spend this year. Also worth noting that 28% stated around managing labor costs. That's 16% managing labor costs today. That's 12% planning to manage it in the next 12 months. This was actually a hot topic in our advanced practitioner conversations, with a portion already doing this, relating its inclusion to data center costs or in relation in comparing certain AI efforts versus staffing. Again, we're going to keep an eye on this. Is this a kind of growing trend along with other technology areas of spend? But it's just an interesting kind of to point out today. So if we double click into that SaaS spend area, data cloud platforms are the most popular area, along with observability, but AI services are making an impact here with the biggest planned increase for next year. From interviews, SaaS is seen as an important area for potential optimizations. It's kind of greenfield. There's new opportunities to do it with leadership driving a mandate in the majority of cases. But also there's proactive approaches. We're hearing practitioners kind of going from a bottoms-up approach to actually help and support efforts managing SaaS costs. Another key point here is 8% are currently managing all of these areas in SaaS, which is rising to 12, expected to manage all these areas in the next 12 months. But it does highlight there's room for growth in what SaaS technology areas that are being managed by practitioners. So when we looked at what capabilities that practitioners are applying to different areas of spend, there was a notable difference between 2025 when budgeting and forecasting was top. Allocation is top across the board, across all areas. This could be in relation to data being less available in these technologies compared to public cloud, but it's still in that understanding usage and cost domain. Another change from last year is how optimizations and tools and service capabilities are appearing in the top 6 now. As maturity develops, folks are progressing from that understanding spend to that optimization efforts, and how could they be more efficient with tooling or services for these technology types. Managing AI spend has become the norm. As we predicted, we were very close last year. With continued AI investment and a rapid rise of it, we see management in this area becoming just normal. From interviews, conversations show that it's just a new technology type for those practitioners to deal with. But also there's challenges to consider around this spend. If we move on one slide, the 3 prominent challenges practitioners are facing when applying FinOps to their AI spend. Understanding the full scope of AI spending, so new areas of the business using some form of AI that they need to kind of understand and gather. Quantifying the value of spend, this seems a very persistent challenge with AI, and allocating the spend are the top 3. It'll be interesting to see how these kind of challenges persist, and as a community, can we overcome them and help and support in this area? So for planned AI investments, it remains strong, heavy investment still in public cloud, along with increases in SaaS. This includes AI services and also increases in data center and private cloud. A notable point from interviews is highlighted on this slide is the level of spend management process varies. Do you focus on speed and innovation or cost and kind of value? I kind of want to say this potentially would be switching. We know it's a challenge to demonstrate the value. If that challenge becomes higher and a business problem, that's when the switch and more processes and governance will be put onto this. But currently, it is about speed and innovation. So now if we switch to AI for FinOps, when asked how important is using AI for your FinOps practice, almost half, which is, to be honest, it's actually slightly surprising to me, consider it of high importance, and only 19% consider it of low importance. Those who deem it the higher importance typically are in the enterprise size organizations at the higher spend bracket, but they also prioritize FinOps for AI in their priorities, and also they prioritize unit economics. We see that pairing again. Practitioners stated use cases such as tagging, smaller optimization opportunities with automated remediations. These are all productivity gains. This is going to be an impact for the practice. This is an impact for everyone, I think, in everyday life, but it's going to be an impact of FinOps, and it's going to be really interesting to understand how this develops over the next 12 months. So moving on to organizational alignment. Collaboration between teams continues to increase. This is a trend over the years that we've tracked. Most often in ITFM, but ITAM and ITSM have the largest year-on-year rise in collaboration. For team integrations, it also increased across all areas shown. With ITFM having the largest year-on-year increase, adding 6 percentage points. We also saw that increased collaboration was more likely within those large enterprises, those 10,000 plus employees, while team integrations was more likely in the SMBs and the smaller enterprises. It's also worth noting the rise within sustainability and ESG team collaboration and integration. This aligns with the European respondents we got, but it does not mean it's an increased priority as shown earlier on the priority slides. And we're also hearing platform engineering from the interviews is another area that requires collaboration, and we're looking to add that kind of like future kind of surveys and also understand that more from looking forward to hearing that from yourselves as well. So when asking respondents what level of technology selection does FinOps influence, if we cross-reference this data with the level in the organization that they enabled with FinOps data, we found that those enabling the VP or the SVP, EVP, or CXO levels have much more influence in the technology selection than those only enabling the director level with their FinOps data and engaging with them. This shows the importance really of enabling higher levels within that organization, driving that FinOps culture to gain that influence and drive more value and success overall of the FinOps practice. You move beyond that optimization layer into that value layer. This also relates to the roles we're now seeing at those higher levels, utilizing FinOps teams' data as shown on the asset here, and that broader strategic technology decisions being made. Okay, we're going to move on to tooling. We did not ask any specific tooling questions. We do not rank or recommend toolings from analysts, but what we did ask was what FinOps tool features or capabilities would you like to see that do not exist today? This was a free-form response that we analyzed and grouped all the data. The top 3 in order were granular monitoring of AI spend, so around tokens, LLM requests, or GPU utilization. Pre-deployment costings related to enabling that shift left activities, and giving a single pane of glass showing the spend across those different technology categories. So how can I see all that spend, not just cloud spend, but all that spend? These align again with those priorities we said earlier. AI is impacting this area, including tooling. Other notable groupings included automation, unit economics, focus adoption, managing software licensing, that other technology area, and granular shared costs and container allocation. So it's really interesting to see where tooling could go, especially with the implementation of kind of like AI for the practice as well. So moving to focus, we are seeing an increase in those obtaining the focus formatting billing data. This is likely to be, continued improvements to the specification with the, for practitioner use cases of it, and the growing ecosystem of data generators, which is fantastic to see. We're also hearing FinOps platforms and tools integrating it in as focus is complementary to tools also. And practitioners are looking for focus support in additional areas. Microsoft 365 is a top request again. Likely, some of these are driven by persistent challenges or growing investment in those areas, such as the data clouds. And it connects to that demand for that unified billing visibility across technology, just shown in that previous slide. And there is also a long tail of additional requests. So the AI narrative continues, where practitioners would like to see focus expand to, with it being a top request for support followed by data center. There is a subtle difference between cloud spend levels on this, with those that spending 100 million in public cloud annually want more expanded support in the data center first, and then kind of AI workload second. The team is already developing assets, like the one on the slide here, around these areas. And of course, all the information feeds into the focus project as well. So looking forward to advancements coming this year. So just to recap, so AI dominates the agenda. Skills, future priorities, investments, focus, and tooling. It was in tooling as well. So it's kind of throughout the report in multiple areas and the challenges that we need to overcome to kind of help manage that. FinOps has expanded across technology, continued growth in all areas. Teams are asked to take on more, find more optimization opportunities that might have a higher impact than what they can do on cloud. Optimization is that the table stakes. It's just something teams do. Mature practices are prioritizing other areas and focusing on value. Shifting up, those enabling those higher levels of those organization have more influence on that technology choice. Shifting left is happening, highly desired within the feature within tooling, but there's challenges remain around that. Intersecting disciplines are converging, a trend we've seen over the last 3 years. Further collaboration is happening, especially with ITFM. Larger enterprises are collaborating, smaller organizations are integrating. There's definite shifts and continuation of those trends happening. Looking forward to see how that goes in the next couple of years. Small, lean teams. FinOps is primarily enabled centrally, but with embedded champions, especially at those larger enterprises. Remember, FinOps is everyone's job. I do want to say thank you. There's a lot there to unpack. Happy to answer any questions later on. Looking forward to hearing the panel. I do want to say thank you to the team behind this. Andrew, Mike, James have been really busting their guts to kind of like get this out there. Thank you all for your time. But it is now. Can I say this now? I think the website is actually now live on data.finops.org. And we will be sharing some slides in a minute just to the people on this call. So you can use this in your organization. You can use this to validate points. You can use this to advocate for your practice to your leaders as well. Thank you very much. Back to you, JR.
Amazing. Thank you, Steve. And you ended a minute early, so you've earned yourself an unexpected curveball question.
Oh,
so for you personally, what was the most surprising thing in the state of FinOps for you?
I think it's the importance of AI from FinOps. It's kind of that switch of AI dominating the spend. We know it's kind of increasing. We know the rise. We know the challenges around it. But it's the actual importance of people looking at AI on their FinOps practice. That impact it was much more than I was thinking it was going to be. I didn't realize so many people are thinking about it, how to apply it, and it's going to, I don't say disrupt, but it's going to be kind of interesting of all the cases that are going to come out from it. But yeah, AI was very dominant throughout all the data and the correlation with unit economics. The unit economics was really coming up wherever AI was mentioned. So I think those two things are, for me, the areas of interest. And I think definitely we should be looking to as a community.
Great. Well, it's a lot of data to unpack. If you're not following the chat, the data is now live on the website, data.finops.org. And we will be shortly as well posting a link to a PDF version of the slides that you can use internally in your own presentations. It's actually the first year we've done that. So many of you have asked. If anyone has questions or ideas, we're going to bring those together at the end during the discussion. I see there's a hand up, but we'll carry that back, drop it in the chat, and we'll touch on discussions in the last 25 minutes. Oh, Leo asked for Google Slides versions. They're PDF, unfortunately. We'll have to start there, but let us know if there's something you're missing, and we'll see if we can figure something out. Website is live, as mentioned. It's really cool as well. It's interactive. Go play with it. See what questions you have. See what else you want us to add. Share it on LinkedIn. Do those things. Speaking of LinkedIn, we're going to drop into the chat here in a minute a LinkedIn post about this that we've just put out. We'd love for you if you could do a favor to us in the community, engage with that LinkedIn chat, give it a like, give it a comment, so that more people can see that data out there across the internet. So one of my jobs, or probably my primary job as executive director, is keeping us focused on our vision and our mission. At the foundation, we set a mission as a nonprofit back in 2020 that we have never touched. And over the last 18 months, we've started to think it might be time to consider some changes to that. So on the back of all the conversations that I think started really at the 24 to 2025 FinOps X, where we heard talk after talk around SaaS, we heard new talks about data center, we heard many talks touching on licensing and intersecting those areas. And this data that we saw in the State of FinOps here, we started to talk last June at FinOps X with our governing board about whether it was time to make a small change to our mission. Initially, I think it made everybody uncomfortable. We've always been focused exclusively on cloud. And we agreed in June of 2025 that we just kind of keep the conversation going. We carried that conversation forward to multiple other governing board meetings, talking with the community in October, and then again in January. And we started to see some interesting things come out of the State of FinOps data. State of FinOps data showed, as Steve just showed, things like this. Not only are FinOps teams doing great work in cloud, and not only are they helping to figure out which clouds now workloads should go into, they're being asked to figure out which types of technology should go into, whether things should even go into cloud. They're being asked to touch licensing and software. They're being asked in about 28% of the cases to factor in things like labor costs. I was on a call yesterday with an EVP, sorry, it was an SVP of engineering. And he said, if we don't hit our overall FinOps optimization goals this year, we're actually going to be making changes to headcount. And he's in that conversation, feeding that data as a part of this. So as of February 5th, the FinOps Foundation Governing Board has voted to update the mission of the foundation with one simple change. There's a one-word change here. We are still 100% focused, as always, on the people, advancing careers, advancing the people. That's what we do. We are not a technology industry organization. We're a people organization. We are still 100% focused, as always, from the beginning on value. This is not about cost or savings. It never has been. It's always been value. It's people and value. We have expanded the scope of where that's touching, following on multiple years of hearing from you in the community that we're doing FinOps in all kinds of different places now. We aren't telling you where you need to do it. We are being respectful of those who are doing FinOps in different areas. At the core of FinOps is cloud and will always be cloud. And the way that FinOps evolved, the speed at which it handles data, the way it's collaborative, interactive is going to be built in cloud. But cloud is another type of technology. And there are many different types of cloud-like aspects beginning to touch into other types of technology as well, particularly as AI feature sets work their way in there. My summer in 2025, after FinOps X, was spent interviewing these folks. I've interviewed dozens of VP, SVP, and EVP leaders, mostly at Fortune 250s, but getting a bit into the Global 2000 as well, who have combined technology accountability roles covering FinOps, VP, SVP, EVP level, and also other areas such as platform engineering or sourcing, marketplace. These roles, you can go read about them on the website, are really the new archetype of executive leadership for FinOps, where it reports into. And as we saw as well, the focus data set is being asked to expand to more and more areas. So there's a mission announcement that I've posted this morning onto our insights page. It's going to drop here in the chat in a minute. Here's the all you need to know, though. Start where you are. If you're focused on reactive cloud cost, and that's your whole job, that's fine. A lot of folks are moving into more proactive technology value. We've seen career escalation. We've seen people get bigger in their roles. We've seen VP, SVP titles start to emerge when people look at proactive technology value and when they use the people, culture, best practices, technology, all of this to do that. That's where we're going to be focused. Doesn't mean we're going to stop talking about cloud. Cloud is at the core of everything we do. We're going to start applying those cloud FinOps principles to more and more areas, as you've seen in the data. So some working groups that are happening right now. We're continuing to dig deeply into FinOps for AI. That is the hottest topic across all these areas. We're also going to start to look at more intersections. Last year, we looked at intersections with ITAM and software asset management. This year, we're going to start to expand into some intersections with IT financial management. We're going to continue to focus on things like unit economics. We're going to dig into focus adoption, FinOps assessments. We're going to see, as part of the next framework update in about a month as well, more alignment with executive strategy and getting into the related areas that are being touched around risk policy and governance. So get involved, share your thoughts, look at the post, and figure out how you want to contribute to this change and figure out how you want your career to advance and how we can help you in that journey, because that's what we're here for. All right, with that, I want to pass over to Matt Kausert, who is Principal Product Manager here at the Linux Foundation, helping to shepherd the focus spec. Matt, over to you.
Hey, everybody. So I just want to draw your attention quickly to a few recent announcements that we've had with Focus. I see there's a bunch of Focus chatter in the chat. But we have two recent announcements, one for AWS, who announced support for 1.2 back in November, as well as Nebius, who announced support for 1.2 just back in January. More on Nebius in just a second. I just want to call out the attention to OCI, Tencent Cloud, Snowflake, and MongoDB, who've announced planned support for Focus 1.3 in 2026. So more to follow there. The takeaway that I want you to have is that we continue to see interest from data generators and practitioners alike to adopt Focus. Steve mentioned the top 10 hit list that you guys have requested within the State of FinOps survey. Go to the next slide quick. So we have both on the top 10, and this is in priority order, but we also have a long tail of data generators that will track down on your behalf. If you have interest leads, please let us know. We want to get Focus in the hands of as many people as possible, and we think there's a stronger network effect when we have more data generators that are available. With our recent announcement with Nebius, so Nebius is a neo-cloud AI infrastructure provider based out of the Netherlands. They announced support for Focus back in the middle of January. We worked with them all of Q4 to validate this data to ensure that it was meeting expectations. And the last thing I want to point to, because I saw somebody talk about it in the chat, Nebius is their data set, their export is Focus, and it's the only one that they have. So looking forward to seeing that more as we reach out to additional providers. I do want to call quick attention to the Focus for Data Center paper that we published back in December. So this gives you that practical framework to be able to leverage the Focus language and normalization internally. Maybe Alessandro will talk about this a bit more in the past, and we had a highlight here within our Focus newsletter that we published at the beginning of February. So more to follow here, but you'll continue to see us put out papers that talk about the practical application of Focus. On the point of seeing more and more providers start to support Focus, we do understand that version fragmentation and conformance is a challenge for practitioners. And so to account for that, and this talks about CSPs, but in practical terms, it's all providers that are supporting Focus billing data. We have launched the Focus Conformance Certification Program. This is starting with Focus 1.2, which we'll talk about on the next slide. And we announced this in December. It's now open, available. Applications are ready. I've reached out to a handful of data generators already. We have published documentation on the conformance on the website that talks about Focus conformance. If you have questions, concerns, feel free to reach out to membercert@finops.org or just contact me directly. We look forward to announcing the data generators that reach conformance for 1.2 and achieve that certification at FinOpsX this year. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about our most recent announcement for Focus 1.3, where we're supporting contract commitments. So how do you match your usage to your actual contract data? Split cost allocation for tracking Kubernetes, as well as shared database cost. Understanding how complete your data is from your data generators themselves, as well as distinguishing between your service provider and host provider. So if you're operating on Snowflake, MongoDB, and providers where you're able to specify the infrastructure it's running on top of, that's super important. And the last plug, we build out in the open. It's one of my favorite things about working at the foundation is that everything that we do is open and available to the community. So if you have thoughts, questions, concerns, feel free to chime in on GitHub. I'm always available to take conversations and really appreciate the support and feedback that we get from the community. Like, we build this for you. This is a community spec. Back to you, JR.
Thank you, Matt. I got to do my perennial disclaimer reminder. Focus is just a spec. It's an open source spec, right? So we don't put out a product. We don't guide anybody else. We just say, here's a spec the community can pick up and use. Billing generators, who are the clouds, pick that up and use that. So folks are right. We're seeing inconsistent application of Focus across the board. Some are further along. So this is where we need you to lean in with your providers and ask them for better support. Over time, we're seeing a big move up of this, and we expect, I think I'm going to be coming to you next year with dozens or 100 providers of Focus support at that time. We went from one, like a year and a half ago, to 13 now. It's accelerating. So keep the pressure up, because we see this as something that really helps drive the data and helps drive the practice and people and careers forward. On that topic, we have a fantastic technical advisory council who works specifically on the FinOps framework. So what Matt and the team from the Focus Working Group are talking about is a separate spec. This is the FinOps framework that many of you are familiar with. We're excited to announce, as part of the annual elections, we have 2 new TAC members, Tammy Burnitt from UiPath. You might recognize her from back in the day. I think she was at Shell before. And Josh Collier at Superhuman, which I think used to be called Grammarly, or where he was before as well. So definitely excited to see how these 2 contribute. We also have a new TAC chair, not listed on here. Oh, there he is. David Lambert from Adobe has stepped into the TAC chair position from Kim Weir. So excited to have all those folks. And with that, we want to get into a little bit of a panel discussion on the State of FinOps 2026 based on some of the hot topics that are coming out of this. So let's do a quick round of 15-second introductions. Tammy, then Alessandro, then Shannon, and then we'll get into some of the questions. Tammy, why don't you start?
Hello, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Hi, as JR said, I'm Tammy Burnitt. I was newly elected to the TAC. I left Shell Oil Company about a year ago, and I embarked upon a journey at UiPath. It's a heavily dynamic AI environment and maturing the FinOps program there. So I'm happy to share some of my insights and experiences in the State of FinOps survey.
Great to have you here.
Thanks.
Alessandro.
Hi, everyone. I'm Italian-based FinOps practitioner working for Max Fashion Group. And I really look forward to see you again in next FinOps X.
Hi, Alessandro. And Shannon.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Shannon Daubaras. I am the Director of Cloud Business Management at CCC Intelligent Solutions based out in Chicago. I've been doing this since 2017 and was actually at CloudyCon. I'm an OG in San Francisco back in the day.
I didn't even make it to that one. That is OG. So let's start with you, Shannon. And let's talk about this FinOps expansion into additional technology categories, which I think was the strongest data point. I don't usually see numbers like 90 and 98% on surveys. How has your scope and different technology categories evolved, and what's really driving that expansion for you?
I would say anytime you do something well, your leadership team is going to come to you and look for you to do more, which is what happened to me. I had been doing cloud for so long, and it's like, hey, we have a SaaS problem. We want you to take the efficiencies and take the analytical eye that you've applied to cloud and now apply that to SaaS. And that was last year. This year, getting even more responsibility. We have strategic partnerships with technology companies. Let's take the rigor that you have on cloud and SaaS and now introduce that into other parts of the business. And I expect this is a pattern that's going to continue. As you stabilize one part of your business, you're going to look for opportunities to stabilize the next one and continue to roll that out. So that was probably the least surprising data point for me. And I fully expect that I will be managing over the course of my career many other aspects of technology and trying to find more technology value out of the products and the services that we use.
Nice. How about you, Tammy?
Absolutely. I echo Shannon's responsibility increase with SaaS. Another area where I see expanded scopes is, FinOps is, at least in my case, heavily involved in conversations with finance, procurement alliances, and you're having conversations about profitability and margins and value on the technology that is under your remit. And so without unifying, we could talk about the unified TCO, without unifying your technology spend across, your SaaS providers, your marketplace, you really don't have, or maybe even your labor, you really don't have a good footprint to say one way or the other, what your profitability is. And I look at that as, as you're marching towards unit metrics, you really need to have a full portfolio of what your technology spend is to drive those conversations.
Amazing. So let's hit one of the next big data points, which was the one Steve highlighted, which was around AI dominating a lot of different things, both managing it and using it. So we've got AI showing up as the top #1 skill that people want to add. But I'm curious about how this is playing out, like with AI spend versus what folks are typically doing with their traditional cloud spend, and whether you're using AI yet to actually advance your practice. And Alessandro, maybe we can start there with you and what you're seeing.
Yeah, now I see that AI, there is a lot of project going around, and we are in the very beginning of the first, let's say, initial phase of this adoption, trying to understand. So, as an industrial company, but also a fashion retail, I see the adoption is really getting a little bit slower from our side. That's why I'm looking mostly on how this first technology adoption is going on, to try to understand what would be the best strategy to integrate with our FinOps governance. Yeah.
Makes sense. Tammy, you got a lot of interesting things in the prep as well. What are your thoughts there?
Oh gosh. So, AI is this highly volatile, like dynamic ecosystem of spend. And, you get some controls in there. And so whether it's I look at a couple of forms of automation. Maybe you're automating your commits. So, you can set it and forget it, and it's out there procuring these discounts, whether it's compute or other outside of compute. So maybe if you deploy a new region, you can automatically pick things up there and give it a discount before you can actually migrate some work there. Maybe it's AI to get in front of like the things that I see in AI is anomalous spend or right sizing or quick termination of a wasted resource. So maybe use some MCP logic and some AI agents, to send that to Slack and, get in front of that, mean time to detect, mean time to terminate. Putting some percentages on waste. AI for FinOps is very powerful, but you also want to go into that knowing what your spend is there as well. So we talk a lot about this in the AI work group, but I highly recommend if any of this resonates with you, get involved in the community, talk to some of us. We're always happy to help and have conversations.
Great. Shannon, thoughts there?
Yeah, I would say I'm probably in an unusual position in that I work for an AI company, so I've never not managed AI spend. So whether it was training or inference, it's just always been a part of my FinOps practice. Where that's given me an advantage is I have already been building out education programs. So as agentic and as generative AI becomes a bigger focus of our deployment, as opposed to, our traditional building and training our own models and then using them for inference for our products, we have the foundation built already around best practices so that we can capture the details we need to enrich the data and really show the business the value of what we're getting. So I would say that is kind of, for me, this is just another part of the spend. I don't think it's particularly unique because it's just something I've always had, under my purview.
Okay, so let's stay with you for a minute, Shannon, because when we talked before about optimization as table stakes, like optimization's top current priority, but it's kind of like you got to do it. I mean, for me, it's sort of like it's like breathing in FinOps. You eventually, hopefully, you stop thinking about it, but if you stop breathing, you got problems. So optimization's there, but what comes next? Like, what do you see that advancement happening from moving from just optimization being the main focus?
It's about value. It's about capturing your unit metrics, getting to the value of what you're bringing to your customers. In our case, we're capturing data around, cost per inference, cost per claim, cost per customer. So that's what we're doing is we have this well built out and enriched data set, and we're using that to interact with people on the product side of the business. And we already have a great partnership with finance, but bringing this data to their attention so that they can really validate a lot of their assumptions around their go-to-market strategies, their pricing, and so on. That's been the biggest boon, I think, from getting the optimization out of the way early so that you can focus on where the value add really is.
Tammy, how about you? How's optimization evolved?
Well, I have to agree with Shannon. It's evolved in terms of value. I think that's your value statement. And when you choose to go after optimization, you have to be a good storyteller. And I think you mentioned in terms of like career, there was a slide there about who you're interfacing with, whether it's your finance or your procurement or your product people. It has to be valuable. And I always, my philosophy on this is quick wins and shortest runway to delivery, and being a good storyteller and talking about the value. Maybe it's an efficiency gain, and you're freeing up resources to go do other things. But Shannon nailed it. It's a value statement, and then being able to communicate that to leaders to help them decide where those trade-offs are. Which ones do we go through? I'm going through that right now for initiatives for this new year, and what are we going to do, and how are we going to rank these things, and then how are we going to measure the efficiency? Hopefully, we've got some good KPIs in there that can underpin and support your value.
The measuring of the efficiency is obviously a long ongoing challenge. And one of the things that popped up, if you caught it in the data Steve was sharing, was the idea that you know, when you're shifting left in particular, you're doing cost avoidance. How do you measure that? How do you give credit for it? You know, I had a very advanced practitioner about a year ago tell me, you know, we'll have a new VP come in and take over the FinOps practice and think everything, we don't need the FinOps practice, everything's working. And then they pull some things out and all this deferred things, you know, start to pop in. So, you know, how are you? And maybe I'll send this one to Alessandro. You know, how are you thinking about reporting on value and measuring that in a world where, you know, you've got a lot of irons in that fire?
Yeah. If you want me to, okay. From my point of view, what I see is we are adopting Focus, for example, which is one of our main topics. Let me say, has really turned our saving into an efficiency and also a measurable growth, where we can understand how this data can be turned like performance metrics. So let me say, from our side, the real importance of Focus is a real matter of FinOps efficiency engine, let me say. So something which is really able to enable our adoption and also our understanding of all the technology stack.
My team has reminded me that I was supposed to stop the screen share so that everybody could see your faces. So I'm doing that now. Nobody get frightened. It was my fault. There we go. So let's talk a little bit about self-funding of AI through optimization. So this was something that came up in the qualitative interviews attached to this, which is, turns out budgets aren't being massively expanded to just go spend on AI. Folks are saying, yeah, do all this great new AI stuff, but can you take some money out of like other areas? Shannon, how are you seeing that play out?
I mean, it's been flat out a directive. We can grow the budget a certain percent, but we have all these initiatives that we have to get off the ground. So work your magic tends to be the common advice that I receive from leadership is they kind of think it's an easy, FinOps is an easy button. It's not, and don't understand all the work that goes on behind the scenes and under the covers to extract that value. But yeah, what we've had to do is work with teams. Some of the stuff that maybe we kind of let slide because it was low-hanging fruit or it wasn't worth the engineering value, we're now trying to capture that work, get it knocked off the board. So that way, hey, we got a little bit more money to spend on the next agentic project that a VP is going to, come up with, or whatever the case may be. I think this is going to continue to be the story, the expectation that you're going to have to squeeze basically blood from a stone because AI is so expensive. You can't simply budget to, the scale of what this is going to look like. You have to fund it yourself by finding ways to optimize your environment.
Sense, Tammy?
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I just went through this journey last year, and I look at FinOps as one of the many hats that you wear. You kind of become your own self-funding and the banker, and you're trying to go after it and find money, as Shannon said. And I went through this very exercise last year in terms of automating our eyes and then coming up with money to fund a tool or to fund headcount to go after even more cost optimization, right? And so we had committed and then we had planned. But again, I say get those executive storytelling skills in place and be able to really write a good business case and say, this is what we're going to save, and this is how we can reinvest it, whether it's headcount to go after other things or a tool that's going to save us even more money. But, and then there may be some companies that, they'd rather just keep that money. Not all CFOs are going to want to reinvest that. Maybe you're following the rule of 30 in your revenue and growth rate and your profit margin if you're a public company, right? So it's really good idea to be really closely tied to your finance. You can understand what their strategy is, or maybe you reinvest half of it, right? And you're trying to, grow the stock. But understanding that's the finance side of FinOps that, you're really trying to build your career and understand and be able to have that dialogue with your leaders.
Amazing. Rule of 30. Yes, that's a good one to look at. I was going to make a joke about the rule of 40, but it didn't materialize. Okay, so executive alignment and strategic influence was one of the next talking points from the State of FinOps. So Steve outlined this interesting data point that showed, I guess not surprisingly, this feels like the most obvious, but when you get your spin data in front of your FinOps data in front of VP plus level, you have more influence over technology decisions than when your FinOps practice is sitting at a lower level. So how are you engaging with your VP plus, SVP, EVP, CXOs with this data? And how are you being involved or influencing technology decisions? I'm going to start with you, Alessandro, since you showed some really interesting stuff on your focus data that used a lot of different types of technology spend.
Oh, yes, but thanks for asking, JR. And before, I was feeling always a little bit impossible to have a multi-cloud base of reasoning. We started to adopt focus, just not to have all the data together, but in mind there was the idea to add to enrich the data that we found just going beyond tags. And this way, it has really quickly became a very strategic need to handle our hybrid environments because our stack of technology are spread across different providers. And that's why we turned that focus has became the real driver for the unit economics understanding and also tracking and more working on that, let's say, also to handling back this data back to different teams, because we are not just keeping this data inside the FinOps data lake like this. We always work like next to our C-levels because we need to speak in the same business language of the C-levels. This is the real enabler on the discussion. When we discuss with them, it makes things really easier. But as I was saying, we extend also to other departments. For example, we have in our organization we are also relying in some business competence centers. So we are cycling back these unit metrics back to this team so they can hone these cost allocated KPIs coming from the focus specification, from the core focus allocation also. And this is ensuring our multi-cloud strategy is always aligned with the company bottom line and gives our executive the confidence to move fast without losing control of the margins. So there is no more fear, let's say, to talk about data-driven decisions. Yeah.
But Tammy, you touched on storytelling, and like how are you bringing your executives in and up and both translating down and up and with that strategy alignment?
Yeah, that's a good one. The way I do it is through, quick visuals. I don't try and put a bunch of numbers on the screen, just the numbers that matter. How are we performing against our commitment to our CFO, our plan? How are we performing in terms of our commits? Talking to them, AI moves so quickly. I think that's one of the biggest differences between, your on-prem days or your traditional FinOps versus AI. And so, a lot of times they don't want to get vendor lock-in, and we're trying to chase, okay, we're using this vendor to yesterday, we're going to use this one tomorrow. And then you as a FinOps person, you're trying to make sure, okay, if we make that change, are we still going to meet our commit? And again, as Alessandro said, it's all about the unit metrics and the profitability. And I think being very, very close aligned to hopefully at your VP level or your C-suite, I find myself getting pulled into more conversations, even though I'm new at this company. They're like, well, where's Tammy? And, she needs to be in this lifeboat and we want her take on it. And so I think, the more you can get your name out there, the more you can kind of get in front of these decisions, or at least be a part of the conversation before they happen.
Yeah, so one of the things that has come up more and more this year, and I know some of you on the call have been doing this for a long time, is navigating like strategic deals and commitments that executive leadership, sometimes CEO to CEO, between a tech company leader and a cloud leader, whatever it looks like, happens, and where FinOps teams are dropped a new technology provider, a new cloud they got to deal with, and they've got to manage commitments between lots of different places and balance that out. Shannon, I think I'd like to start with this one on you. Like, how are you factoring in that sort of dynamic environment in a world where you don't have control over necessarily the commitments or what deals are being made, and how are you flowing that into your FinOps decisions?
I mean, sometimes you just have to play the hand you're dealt. We acquired a company that's on a third cloud provider, one that was completely new to us, different commitments, different contract structure. You just have to dive in, understand the data, understand the limitations of what you can and cannot do. And then, use the influence that you have with your executive team to identify opportunities. Like, should this move to one of our other pre-existing cloud providers? Are there ways that we should frame our next agreement? How do we think about future investments and future technology decisions now that we have, let's say, three players at the table? It's really changed the calculus. I have a quarterly meeting with our CTO and CFO, and these are some of the things that we talked about. This is now the wild card. how does this change our leverage position with other vendors? How does this change how we think about the things that we're going to ask for in terms of service credits or service discounts as we go into renegotiations? So I think it's just, like anything, you're kind of drinking from the fire hose sometimes, and you just got to make the best of it and do what you can. But I think FinOps really puts you in a position where you have to be very detail oriented, and that skill set that you have is going to help you navigate, any challenge that gets thrown at you, or at least it has been in my experience.
Okay, so last question as we're up on time here. The mission change, and Tammy, I'm gonna start with you on this one. I'm not gonna lie, some people have been like concerned about the mission change. What does this mean for me in my career? Like, what were your thoughts on this advancement and how your own career has advanced and how that touches? Like, should people be concerned that we've changed our mission?
I don't think so. I think if you look at AI, I feel like AI has changed the mission. You use so many different vendors and suppliers and tools to deliver a product. I look at my career and I can kind of like Shannon, I'm kind of way back, kind of OG, first FinOps practitioner. I look at my skill set and the conversations that I have today and the technology that's under my remit today versus 10 years ago or however long ago. I think it's amazing. And I think we're using the term technology versus just cloud. It's so much more than just cloud, right? And you absolutely are wearing many, many, many hats. It's, FinOps is, finance, it's engineering, it's a little bit of everything. As you said, it's chasing the spend, Shannon. It's, you're drinking from the fire hose a lot of times, and it's a lot of responsibility, but I kind of thrive on it. I think this is an opportunity for you to really expand your skill set, and I would embrace it and, pedal down on the accelerator. I wouldn't fear it. I think it brings a lot of opportunity across a lot of technology.
Any final word, Shannon or Alessandro, you want to share on that?
Yeah, I think definitely the role we can change during the time with the change around the landscape. If the landscape is evolving, is extending, also this role can change also. So I'm expecting to change something in my role in the next 12 months, for example.
I would just add that, I think it's overdue. I like to say I did FinOps before it was FinOps, because when I was a data center infrastructure manager, I was doing capacity planning, capacity optimization on our storage environments, on our infrastructure. So I think it's just a natural evolution and one that's been overdue.
Excellent. Well, thank you all for the thoughts and sharing your time. I'm going to go back to the screen share here. I want to ask a favor, if I can, of the people on the line. We've given you the slides in here with the PDF. Can you do us a favor? Can you go to LinkedIn on this link I just put in the chat and go engage with this? Just give it a like or give it a comment. That'll help get the algorithms going and more people seeing it, so we can get more eyeballs on the State of FinOps data that all of you contributed to. Thank you so much. There's some great information out there in that, how to apply FinOps and focus specifically to data center that Alessandro was mentioning here as well. So check that out. And want to now pass to our good friend, Natalie Bergman, who leads up the development of our training and certification here at the FinOps Foundation. Over to you, Natalie.
Thanks, JR. It's so exciting to hear all these conversations around AI. So I have a couple announcements from the training and certification area. First up, we have a new page launched that honors the hard work and assets that our FinOps certified professionals contribute and build during their coursework. So go check it out. It's the start of our library, more to come in the coming months, but see what your fellow community members and certified professionals are publishing and producing through their coursework. Our next announcement, I'm very excited to bring to you early. Our FinOps certified FinOps for AI certification is ready. So now's the time. Go to learn.finops.org. You can get your level 1, level 2, level 3, and full certification for the FinOps for AI. You can get your badge shared on LinkedIn. You get to be some of the first folks to be certified. And this actually all started over a year ago at FinOps X. We were talking about AI. Since then, we've collaborated with folks in the community, the working groups, to hear stories and experiences about what folks are doing with AI. We've published papers, and through these learnings, we've been able to build this course, kind of building the plane, as we're flying it and apply the FinOps framework to this growing area of technology. Folks are sharing great feedback about this. You can see some of our feedback from level 3 on the next slide. Thank you. Folks are saying that this course is strategic and practical and really relatable, and I would say timely as well. So to honor this culminating certification, we're offering 20% off using the promo code learn_AI through the end of this month. So go right now to learn.finops.org and sign up now. One caveat to that is if you are interested in a deeper discount, we are offering 50% off the course with your purchase of a FinOps X ticket for attendees. And the coolest part about that is that when you come to FinOps X, you get to add to your pin collection a really rad FinOps for AI pin. Here it is. And we're really excited to present this. So go now, learn.finops.org, be the first to get your badge and certification, share it on LinkedIn, and be at the forefront of FinOps for AI.
Amazing, Natalie. Thank you for all the work on this. I know it's been a labor of love. And as Natalie mentioned, all this is rolled up from conversations from the community, from working groups, from all these different areas. So definitely thank you to everybody who's contributed there. And Natalie, well done on working the word rad into a summit. I think that was long overdue for us.
Hey everyone, producer Andrew here. Thank you so much for watching and for your support. For more FinOps content, go check out our YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, and leave comments and questions for all of our wonderful speakers. We appreciate your support.